Hello everyone, welcome to another video on my channel. I am Marshall3498. Today's topic, what I'd like to talk a little bit about is experience with buying a used motorcycle. I myself, my first two bikes, including the one I'm on now, my 07 FC6, were used and bought from a private seller. So I'll share some of my experiences and what's happened to me throughout both processes myself. And this is just my opinion, my view, and my advice for anybody either buying their first motorcycle, buying their second one, starting from a beginner bike going up to a kind of middleweight bike like my FC6 is, just whatever the case may be in your situation. First thing is to whether you buy it off Craigslist, local news ad paper, Cycle Trader, eBay, whatever. First thing is to get your negotiated price done before you actually go and see the person. That way, if the seller is legit and everything checks out, they say what the bike says they are, then the whole process becomes much more difficult for both parties involved, not only the seller but the buyer as well. But that's what I did, and it seemed to work pretty good for me. I went there, all the stuff about the bike, they said what it was, what it wasn't, how good a shape it was in, how clean it was. That was all true, and they seemed pretty legit. So you just have to be careful. There's a lot of nut jobs out there, and a lot of people trying to rip people off. So best advice I can give you myself is to either one of two things. A, take a person with you who's owned several bikes, whether this is your first one or even only your second like me. Take a friend who's had several bikes and has been riding a while, and maybe one of those people like one of my friends I took with me that pretty much just either sells or trades or upgrades a bike every year or two, if not more than that, more frequent I mean. But yeah, just take somebody with you who has some experience in buying used bikes, and somebody who has quite a bit good mechanical motorcycle knowledge, and that'll kind of help you in the end. Look at the major stuff. What kind of shape the battery's in. Ask the seller all kind of questions you can about the bike, either A, in person once you get there to look at it, or B, over text or email or phone or whatever your point of contact with them is, and get all that stuff out of the way. That way, maybe when you go look at the bike, if everything says, like I said, if everything says what it is, it all checks out, it's pretty painless then. But look for the major stuff. If it's your first bike or your second bike, look for the major stuff that you necessarily don't want to have to immediately put money into it. Make sure it's in good running shape. Make sure both front and rear tires are in, at least enough shape to maybe get you through that riding season. If you, are one of those, and many people like myself who maybe only ride, maybe 5,000 miles a year, then if the tires are in decent shape or pretty new, then they should last you, depending on what kind of tires on the bike. If it's a long-lasting tire, it'll last a while. If it's a more, kind of Q3 type tire, made for track days and back mountain roads and twisties and stuff. And let's be honest, it's not going to last nowhere near as long. You might get a couple thousand miles out of it if you're lucky. But the main thing is just like I said, take somebody who's mechanically knowledgeable about motorcycles with you. That way, maybe they'll see something that you don't see, or is not obvious, or just whatever. And another big thing too is to make sure either you as the seller or you as the buyer. There are no test rides. That's pretty much an unspoken rule with everybody. There are no test rides till cash is in hand for the bike. If you want to have your buddy who knows more about bikes test ride it. That would be my advice. That's kind of what I did. But if you meet in a big parking lot somewhere, just or a little short neighborhood, just take it down the road and back, just to make sure all the mechanical works and all the controls, lights, horn, clutch feels good, the brakes, yada yada yada. Just a good quick overview, and if everything checks out all good. But be aware, once you put money in hand and you test ride it, if you drop it, you have just bought yourself a dropped motorcycle. Simple as that. That's just the way it is. It's just like if you were to test drive a car off any used little mom and pop car lot. You wreck it, you just bought it. It's pretty much how it goes, because their insurance is for theft and other stuff like that, not for you. So yeah, just be aware of that, and all the buying experience will go much smoother. Like I said, if you take a buddy with you, he knows quite a bit about the bikes. And not only that, it helps to have two people load the bike up their way. Everybody has their own different way. Maybe that buddy, while he takes you to go look at the bike, he can help show you his procedure, and you can learn a few things on how to load the bike up and unload it. And and that way, if it's your first bike, your second bike, or maybe the first time you've loaded a bike up, you'll learn even more stuff that day to use with you in future of buying another motorcycle or even a new bike. But yeah, just be well aware of everything as is. And don't see a bike, say, on Craigslist for $3,500, and if the bike's worth that and it's not a rip-off, if that's about what a Blue Book's for, that's what somebody knows what that bike would sell for on the used market, like Craigslist or whatever. If they put $3,500 in there, do it. No, don't be disrespectful and offer them like $2,500. That's kind of what happened to me when I sold my first bike. I listed it for, I only rode it like maybe 5 months, and was quite thrilled with it. But it was kind of a bigger, just a beginner bike. It was only a 500, so I kind of grew out of it kind of fast, I guess. But it taught me the basics, and I had quite a bit of fun on it the short time I had it. But my main thing is don't offer the seller way less than what would be a fair price. If the bike's is worth the money, then of course you're going to start kind of low. You might cut them down, say $400 or $500, and that way that gives you that way it gives you a little bit of wiggle room for them to come up, and you ought to kind of meet in the middle somewhere to happy medium. Because if you start trying to haggle people or bargain with them, or not give them what at least a fair price to be, they're not going to want to have anything to do with you, because they're like, well, they just want something for nothing, and that's not how it's going to be. At the end of the day, all of us are riders. Yeah, it'd be nice to save at least a couple $100 on what they want for it, sure, but don't be stupid about it. You know what I mean? Just don't do that. You wouldn't want somebody to do that if you were selling a bike, trust me. And so don't do that to them. Kind of the old unspoken rule. You reap what you sow. But I hope everybody, maybe this video helps some people in some buying experience and some tips for y'all. If you like this video, give me a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe or leave a comment down below. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer you when I can. Also, on a side note, my channel has quite a bit of other stuff on it as well. I have first ride reviews from bikes, first impressions, rides of them, never rode them before. Gear reviews that I currently own and have thoroughly tested. Some, like this video, rider advice, rider safety tips, do's and don'ts, all that kind of stuff. And, some scenic places where, in my area, some day trips I've taken, and some drum footage from my DJI Phantom 3 Professional, some scenic places in my area. So on that, guys, have fun, ride safe, and ride like you're invisible, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.